I got no advertisements today, man.
That's too bad. Nothing in the background.
I know. I got nothing. Work has just been, as you can imagine, absolutely crazy.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to keep up to see what was going on. So it was just some ransomware that kind of took over your.
So I came in on a Tuesday and I saw my boss had called me 5 times before I even got up. I was like, oh shit. And she's like, all the files on our share drive have a weird name on them. And I'm driving and I'm like, I've never had it hit before. In 19 years of doing this, never had it.
Yeah.
And it went, every machine that was online at 3 a.m. got hit. So almost all of our servers, except our domain controllers.
Damn.
Any desktop or laptop that was plugged in got hit. I mean, the thing just went through our whole network. So thankfully,
did you end up like paying the ransom to be able to like unencrypt it or whatever, or what did y'all do?
It actually deleted all of our backups with VM, and it deleted all the backups and the system restore points. But I had secondary backups of everything. Man
alive.
Yeah, so we did. It took a week to rebuild everything.
Yeah.
But I mean, I knew I had all the data except for one shared drive.
So you had a good backup that you restored everything from? Is that what it was, or?
So yeah, I would randomly take databases and just back them up and send them to a Drobo device and shut down the device. So some of our stuff, like a door server or air conditioning server, like it wasn't up to date, but it didn't matter. It had stuff in it, and then other stuff I would send it to Drobo. If it hit my Drobo devices, I would be paying a ransom.
Right. That's crazy.
I use batch files to just do secondary backups to it, and those were the ones that survived. It's crazy. Into VM, I'm like, oh, it's no big deal, guys. We're just gonna restore our backups with the software, and I go in there, and both folders on both devices where the backups were just totally empty.
Man, that's harsh.
That's
what. So I had that happen. Probably 2-3 years ago, something like that. So I've got a Synology here that I use at home. Kind of like a Drobo, right? That I have basically. It had my VMware environment. It had, at least here at home, all my pictures and all that sort of stuff. And there was a thing that came out, and it was called SynoLocker. And it hit because I had a public-facing port open for it, because that's how I accessed it from my phone. And I woke up one morning and I was like, what the hell? I can't access it. And I go to the web page, and basically it said, pay a ransom to like get an encryption key sent back. And I was just like, you know what? Like, if it was just files in my VMware environment, like, fuck it. Like, I don't care, because it's just my home lab. But I had 8-10 years worth of pictures on there. So I was like, well, instead of trying, and I didn't have anything backed up at that time either. Like, this was my backup. Like, this is where I held pictures. And so now, anyway, I paid it. It was like, I don't know, $250-$350, something like that. Had to pay all in Bitcoin too.
Yeah, that's what they want. This guy wanted 28 Bitcoins for all of my servers. I was like, I'm still talking to him, like through the little portal page.
It's amazing how good their support is.
Yeah, it really is good. I'm like, listen, I keep pleading with them, and I've been tricking him a little bit too. He's like, I needed one server, so we had like 0.2 Bitcoin that they let you buy without verification. So I said, one machine, I'll send you 0.2 Bitcoin, give me one machine. There was one database that was a little bit older. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I'm not giving you any servers, but I'll give you a PC. And I was like, all right, fine, give me this one name of a server. And the guy doesn't fucking know the difference. So he sent me the key for one of our servers. I was like, see, you're stupid. You don't even know what you're
doing. Oh, man.
But it was just rebuilding, was just nuts. But now I feel pretty good against an attack this next time, because I'm doing more snapshots now. Just didn't have the storage space to do a bunch of snapshots.
Yeah. What's going on, Nick?
Guys?
Hey, dude.
Hey, man. Yeah, so when that happened to me, now I've got this thing that backs up into AWS, like on every other day or something like that now. So
nice. There you go.
Yep.
I just cracked this one open. I went through and found
store pick. Yeah,
store pick EC12.
The rare.
Well, that's what the big news that's coming out of the bourbon affair is that I guess you can say like the private barrel that's going to be sold for the bourbon affair is a barrel strength. So it's the first ever barrel strength Elijah Craig private barrel.
Cool. That'd be good.
Yep.
Although I feel like Elijah Craig barrel proof has really gone down in quality. Like they sent me a sample of their new A117.
Is that the one that just kind of hit recently within the new bottling
design?
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of a hot mess, to be honest, dude.
Yeah.
I kind of liked it.
Did you?
Yeah, I compared it to one of my older ones. The older one was tannic. I never really liked it. This new one I liked a lot more.
I didn't find it. It's been a while since I had one that really was awesome to me. Like the 128, I thought was really, really good. And then the last couple releases just tasted the same, just like hot, sort of good finish. I don't know, just not feeling those lately.
Right. Yeah, I haven't bought it since those real old ones and liked it. It was good, but look, it's still $65, $70. Yeah. You know, it's not cheap. Yeah. So didn't like it that much.
So my wife works for Heaven Hill in the marketing department or whatever, and so she's actually got a pretty funny story about the new bottles with the barrel proof. You know that neck tag that's on the very top. They said they spent weeks trying to deal with that because the neck tag was like, it was perfect the way it was. And then they realized that they had to wrap plastic over it and then it didn't fit right. And then, so it was like a whole like redesign just for that freaking neck tag that just says barrel proof on it.
It's a cool look. I mean, I like the bottle design. Yeah, have you seen, I know everyone's seen the Weller new bottle, but have you seen the Antique or Weller 12 in the new format yet?
Just on the forums. That's it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen either of those two yet.
Well, no, I haven't seen Weller 12 in a long time. Even the older bottle. Usually that pops up around here, but retailers have been holding stuff a little closer to the chest lately.
Yeah, I saw regular hit one store here. Maybe it was December, and I got one bottle.
That was there's Cecil. Yeah, that was a big day for me when Weller 12 dropped here. I think I ran around and got 8 bottles.
Nice.
Well, it's one of those things that it actually worked out really, really well because you know how Liquor Barn around here, they try to be fair and they send out an email blast like the day before or like at 5 a.m. or whenever it is. But this time they didn't send it until 10 a.m. and they open at 9. So the whole city was cleared out by the time the email went around and you just had to kind of be in the know, which worked out pretty well for most people that actually cared about it.
Yeah, right.
What's that sell for, Kenny? What do they ask out there?
I mean, Liquor Barn was retail, which was, I don't know, what is it, $30, 35, 40 bucks, something like that. I don't know. You don't really pay attention when you can just pick it up, you kind of figure it out later.
Yeah. Either way is around MSRP.
Yep.
Yeah. Hard to beat at that price.
Yep. It just kind of depends on time of the year. Actually, it only comes out once a year now. So it was the same. It was funny. It's actually really funny how it worked. It was the same exact day that Kentucky Owl was being released everywhere too. Like Kentucky Owl, like you could try to get it like stores for about 2 weeks. They'll be like, I think I got a bottle and it's going to be like, $280. We're like, oh, okay, well, whatever, just kind of buy it. And then it was released that day, the same day as Weller 12. There was more Kentucky Owl than you could ever want to imagine. I mean, it was everywhere. Like people just passed it up. They were like, I've already got 6 bottles now. I don't need any more. And then, some people scoffed at the price, but now with what happened with batch 6 going, crazy, kind of kicking myself for not buying more.
The pre-Stolly batch.
Yes. And then, it's gonna be interesting to kind of see what's gonna happen with Kentucky Owl and having them get bought out and stuff. So I think at first, and I don't think the quality is going to take a suffering hit, but I think at first, the 2,000 bottles that they usually just have here locally, they're going to get dispersed pretty quickly, and it's just going to take a few years until they can really ramp up production again.
Yeah.
Where the fuck is Blake? He's the one who was like, "Can we push till 9:30?" And then
internet connection's probably not working. Hello, all.
Hello, Cecil.
Hey, how you doing?
How are you? I'm good. I've been dealing with freaking I think either one of you two hacked my wife's social security number and identity theft.
Really?
Yeah, so
That stinks.
yeah, like AT&T and T-Mobile, like we got a bill from AT&T with like 2 new iPhones. I was like, wait a minute, I didn't get 2 new iPhones. And then yeah, the like Honda financing's been hit up, like all these shit. So we're trying to figure it out.
Somebody's cruising around in a Civic with a limited cell phone plan.
Like, no, I don't know it. Oh well, we'll figure it out. Do y'all use any like identity services, theft services?
I don't, but
yeah,
never really came about. You know, it's the only thing I always tell people is like never use your debit card anywhere. Like credit,
cancel it.
Like
ATM card only.
Debit card every day, all the time.
Yeah, credit card for everything. That's what I've got people that they use their debit card. And I'm like, what are you thinking? Like they could clear it out and then it's going to take weeks for you to like get your money back. Credit card, they'll cancel it, they'll refund everything, and then they'll send you a new card within 24 hours. Like they just want you to keep spending money on it.
It's their money. Let them use their money, not your money.
Right.
Yeah.
Much better.
So somebody said in the chat, what we got going on tonight? So I put a few things that we're going to be talking about tonight with inside of the comments or the notes. One thing that was kind of a last minute addition that I added is we'll talk about good old sneaky beam. You know, with what Chuck Cowdery put out today, saying that 114 is not EOL. It's going to be alive and kicking just as brand new here in a few months.
For now.
yeah.
Until the end of the river.
Until that changes again.
Yeah. We'll talk about the OFC bottles from Buffalo Trace. Some kind of, I guess you can say, conspiracy theories around it, maybe something like that. Yeah, we can maybe, I don't know. We might skip the Infinity bottle if we have enough time. We'll talk about it. And then the NDP, NGP, and the bias. Like, what's your thoughts on with everything coming out that's MGP based? Like, do you hate it because it's not their stuff and there's just kind of a fake story behind it, or do you kind of give it a shot? For people that are willing to buy the $100 bottles. So we'll talk about those tonight.
Sounds
awesome.
like a plan.
Sounds like a party.
Does sound like a party.
And that's what, Nick, you had a really good article about the OFC stuff. So I'll probably let you kind of lead in and kind of give everybody a good background and fresher on it, if for people that like don't know what it is.
That would be me.
I may have to pull up my article to read that. My mind is mush. Right? Tax return after tax return.
Oh man.
Are you an accountant also?
What's that?
Are you a CPA?
I'm an accountant, yeah. Tax,
Gotcha.
So one return after another.
Yeah, I gotta send mine in.
I barely got home, actually. I'm glad it got pushed a little bit. My last appointment took a little longer than I thought. So,
and that's what Blake does, right?
Yeah, I don't know if he does the exact same thing or works with more bigger accounting, bigger companies. I work smaller companies, individuals primarily.
Gotcha.
We don't talk about that too much.
Usually
Bourbon.
All right, so let's get into it. So,
well, Blake said he's 1 minute out, so
that's fine. He's going to drop off anyway. It's not a big deal. So I do want to say, before we get into the OFC thing, I actually won one for my school that I work at. I held it in my hands. I saw it. I kissed it. I hugged it. I slept with it for a night.
Okay, go on. You can get on out of here.
Sorry, I thought you
It's okay. I'm sure you won't let it happen again. All right. Sorry, fellas.
Someone else as a co-host tonight. That's what I like to see.
She had to come tell me she was thirsty. So
Yeah.
Need to know.
Appreciate
Need to know
it.
basis.
Yeah.
Really important conversations.
Sorry, Carrie. Is there something you wanted to say? Do you want to save it for part of the podcast?
So we sold it a little bit on the early side. So we made some money. It was a really complicated issue to do raffle tickets. So we earned a bunch of money from our school. So I think it was awesome. I mean, it was a great gesture on their part to give these bottles. I don't know what's in it. Like, does anybody know what's actually in it? I mean, there are rumors of.
Let's save it. Save it. We can get into rumors. I've heard rumors
Don't
too.
blow your wad.
It's filled with rumors. That's what we know.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So we all ready? I think we can kick it off.
Yeah. Oh, you want to do your thing? Come on, let's do your thing. Bow, bow.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. I'll get my guitar out. Or banjo.
Banjo. Welcome back to the episode of the Bourbon Pursuit Podcast. Kenny and Ryan here tonight with the 6th edition of the Bourbon Community Roundtable. We got a good one lined up. You know, some really kind of hot topics. Actually, these are some of the ones that were kind of top of mind for me lately, just because of just rumors of stuff that have come out and whatnot. And I think it's good to always get kind of just general information out there. So with that, Ryan, how are you doing this evening?
I am doing well. These topics are very hot in my head as well. And so I can't wait to discuss them. Yeah, let's do it.
All right, easy enough. So with that, as usual, for anybody that's never listened to an episode with the Bourbon Community Roundtable, this is being done on YouTube Live. We're actually very high right now. We've got 75 viewers watching right now. So I think we might break a record tonight. Maybe we'll hit 100. But what happens is this is all happening on YouTube Live. We've got a live chat going on. So once we ask a question, we can always go ahead and, you can put in your answer in the live chat box or anything like that. And everybody here can actually read it at the same exact time. So with that, let's go ahead and introduce our panel of guests tonight. So Blake, we'll kind of kick it over to you first.
How's it going, guys? I'm Blake from bourboner.com. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, email list. We try to cover all social media platforms at this point. So happy to be back for my 6th Bourbon Community Roundtable.
Welcome back.
Go on, Nick.
And I'm Nick from breakingbourbon.com, one of the 3 guys, Nick, Jordan, and Eric. Glad to be here. You can find us online, breakingbourbon.com, and on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as well.
We're waiting for you, Carrie. I'm letting you back clean up this time.
I'm the artist formerly known as Suburbia. Blog, but it's just been a little too busy to blog. It's SUBOURBIA.com, or follow me on Twitter at bourbon_gamer. If I ever knew how to change the Twitter name that I made initially, I would, but otherwise, bourbon_gamer. Follow it, live it, love it.
Is there going to be a suburboner?
I like it.
That's what if you.
I've trademarked any bourbon boner jokes.
Okay. Boners are taken. Blake's got the boners.
I have already put in all patents and trademark infringement suits will be filed. So
I want to see that logo.
Yeah. Looks a lot like the Baby Saz bottle.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? I was going to say maybe 2 barrels and a thief or something.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, let's go ahead and kind of get it kicked off. So one article actually came out today, and I don't know, might have been a surprise, might have left people feeling a little sheepish or a little red-faced about it. But Chuck Cowdery came out with an article today that said fans of Old Granddad 114. There was a rumor a few months ago that this was something that was going to be long gone, and as you would expect, anything that's going to happen in Kentucky and Louisville, shelves were cleared within a matter of a week and a half. And there was what Chuck kind of released today. Maybe it was a leak, maybe it was a press release. Hell, I don't know. But the folks over at Beam Suntory have gone ahead and said that it is not going away, that Old Granddad 114 is still going to be around and kicking. You'll start seeing shipments happen in the next few months. So I guess Beam's back to their old antics. What do you guys think about it? I'll push it over to you, Carrie.
So is this like deja vu? Like, did this just happen with Booker's? And once again, I called this. I said Old Granddad. I may not have said it, but I meant it in my head. And I thought about it, that Old Granddad, the industry is on such an edge right now that there can be rumors of a product being discontinued. People will fly to the shelves and buy them. All the big companies know this. Beam's not stupid. They're like, look what happened with Booker's. We did this whole price hike stuff. We're not sure when we're going to, go into effect, but the price is going to go up. The shelves were cleared. And I said, whoa, settle down. We're going to go up in increments. It's not going to be as high. So, I don't even know that they ever said we're going to drop Old Granddad 114. It just became a rumor. And so they cashed in on it. They let it go. Everybody cleared the shelves and like, oh, actually we have a crap ton of old granddads. We're going to go ahead and send it back out. I mean, I think it's brilliant marketing.
Yeah, until they just piss you off even more. I don't know. It's shenanigans, I think, and it's like, when's the boy that cry wolf? You know, you keep saying all these things, and then we're just not going to believe it anymore. So that's my thought on it. It's just like, I don't know. It's
the wolves that need to settle down.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Blake or Nick, any thoughts about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of shows how much they're listening to the community almost. It's because this never came out as a public release. It was always kind of just rumored, and then everyone kind of freaked out about it, and then like, oh no, hold on, we're gonna hold on to it for a little bit longer, and it just shows a lot of indecision, which I don't think is a good thing from a giant corporation like that. It just, I don't know. It doesn't sit well with a lot of the kind of whiskey nerds, because you hear all this information like, oh yeah, it's definitely going away. Got private information from trusted sources, and then all of a sudden somebody like Chuck, who I would trust his word over just about anyone else, says, no, they've decided, they were kind of talking about it. Now they're going to go back. It's going to stay around for another year or so. Then we'll see. It's like, is that the direction of the company, where they're that unsure about what to do with these big brands like a Old Granddad? I mean, that's been around for how long? And yet they're still not quite sure what to do with it. I don't know. It just doesn't look great with all the indecision.
A trusted source is somebody making a comment on a post on Facebook.
You gotta.
It's a retweet.
You recognize the name. You're like, okay, this guy may at least know what he's talking about. There's names that pop up on the Facebook groups consistently where they're right, whether or not. But
see, the part that angers me, and sorry, I'll let you guys respond soon, and just why don't the companies actually respond to the rumors? Why do they let it sit, even though you email them for months? I emailed them 6 months ago about the rumor, and they didn't write back ever. Like, why do they do that shit on purpose? Because they want to feed into the hype.
Here's my thing: is Beam. You have like Beam the distillery, who is all about the product, everything. Then you have Beam, the giant corporation, which is, Suntory is massive, and they don't like certain things being handled one way or the other. Then you have Beam, the public relation part of it, where they're going to give you the PR of, oh, well, we craft every bourbon with the same matter of love and finesse or whatever it is. So you never quite know what story you're going to get based on who you're asking. At least that's been my experience with them.
The Old Granddad 114. I mean, if you look at that, that's that's kind of a Bourbon Geeks bottle. That's a bottle that people didn't really know about, didn't really talk about. It's high proof for the price. It's good. It's not super, it's not a $40 or $50 bottle. So you think about how they take advantage of that, that back and forth, the asking questions, seeing what people think about it without giving the answer, because maybe they don't know the answer, or maybe they want to see what direction it goes. I'm looking back at, I just pulled up our survey. One of the questions, this was actually on the Bookers, was, how people would feel if they changed the price back, so you could equate that to the same thing. How would people feel if Old Granddad 114 was going to stay as opposed to go? And I heard it from a good source, so I know they were really seriously thinking about it at one point. So you had out of the group, about 30%, thought they'd have mixed feelings, annoyed, but kind of happy they were listened to. So, are we happy that it's staying? Are we annoyed that it's staying? That's a tough question, right? Where do you land on that? Is it that they listened to us, or is it that they played a game the whole time? Mm-hmm. And I don't think we're ever going to know that. We're never going to get to that person that's going to give us that answer. So we have to go with, what do we do next, right? What do we do as a public? Do we keep buying it? Do we boycott them? Do we boycott Bookers at 100? I did. What do you do?
Yeah.
Right? And we're feeding right into it because we're talking about it more. And that's exactly what they want.
Yeah.
Right now.
Right now. Yeah, and they probably just wanted to make more Basil Hayden's at 80 proof and sell it for $60 in that fancy new tube they just put out. So.
Absolutely.
I finally saw the new tube. The new tube is nice. Although I'm not a huge Basil Hayden fan. The new tube is sweet.
Yeah, it's funny. Like Basil Hayden's like was my first like premium bourbon. I was like, oh, this is amazing. And now it's like, it's water.
This is the best
proof.
bourbon can get right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for anybody that doesn't know, that's wondering why we're saying that, it's because you can go buy yourself a bottle of Old Granddad 114, or hell, even Old Granddad bottled in bond, add a little bit of water to it, and now you've got Basil Hayden. It's
pretty much
the same exact thing. But some
you don't have
comments.
the fancy copper hoop on the on the bottle.
True,
that's worth $25. You know that.
That makes the difference.
Anybody that doesn't know this, that actually Old Granddad, the granddad that's on the label, is actually Basil Hayden. So there's another little small tidbit for you. But some of the comments that are coming in. So Claire Rojan says, damn, I just bought 6 bottles of 114 for no reason. F marketing. Michael Lorado says, I stocked up on 3 and he's actually drinking one tonight. But he's not crying over the fact that he stocked up on a few bottles. But he agrees with Blake that a reconsideration would have taken a reaction to potential rumors. So it's definitely one thing. And actually, somebody actually had a pretty funny comment. Try to give him the benefit of the doubt here. John Erdahl said, "Old Grand bad." So for everybody that there doesn't have appreciation for it, so
That's pretty good.
So what's that? We'll kind of move into our next topic. Unless Carrie, do you have something else you wanted to add on to that?
No, I just want to thank Booze Freaks for telling me that I could change my username, and then I realized that somebody else has Suburbia. Somebody named Michelle, who last tweeted in 2014. So thank you, Michelle, for taking Suburbia.
Hold on, you can change it because I actually now own Bourboner, or not. I have the handle Bourboner, so I could change it if I wanted to.
You got to buy up all the domain names.
No. Maybe I just have Bourboner because I think my Twitter is Bourboner.com. So I think I just have Bourboner.
I'm pretty sure I've tagged Burner before and then realized it wasn't you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Erica Sal asked, at what point do I flash my nipple? That's usually in the post edit.
Yeah.
So
All right, so let's go ahead and let's kind of move on a little bit here. So one of the things, and this is kind of one that almost like intrigued me a little bit, because if anybody hasn't been able to see it, and you might be underneath a rock like Ryan, but Buffalo Trace released a series of bottles called OFC, and it was only for charities. And the only way that you can get into it, and they valued these at $8,000 to $10,000. And so the only way that you can actually own a bottle is you pony up and you pay $8,000 to $10,000, or you can go. I don't know. I'm getting sick of everybody that keeps tagging me to buy a raffle ticket for these goddamn things because they're everywhere. I can't swing a dead cat without hitting 5 of them. But before we kind of dive into it, I want to give Nick a chance to kind of talk about the OFC bottles a little bit because he had a great article that came out last week talking about it. So Nick, I'll push it over to you.
Sure. Yeah, so just a real quick kind of background. OFC stands for, well, it could stand for one of 2 things, old-fashioned copper or old fire copper. Goes back to Colonel Taylor's name of the distillery. I actually asked Buffalo Trace why they grabbed onto old-fashioned instead of old fire, and they said that that's, from their records or what they know, that's what he first called it, so that's what they used. They released 200 bottles. 100 were put into oak in 1980, and then 50 1982, and then 50 1983. The age of the bottles, because you'd think that pretty old. How long have those been sitting around? Actually, turns out they were dumped over time. So they estimate they're about 20 years old. They're upwards of 20 years old. So not an age statement, but that's coming from Buffalo Trace. So what they did was they put those out to charities, Kenny mentioned, if you haven't seen it, they're all over right now. That's going to be ending very soon. They're supposed to basically be done with it by the end of February. So they're supposed to report back in March to Buffalo Trace what they raised. And so the idea there is to, I believe, do some kind of pre-marketing for what's going to be a future release for bottles that were put into oak, or barrels that were put into oak, bourbon put into oak in 1990 and forward. So these are some older ones. And Buffalo Trace acquired them, so they don't really know, or they say they don't really know exactly what's in them. So mash bills could be any number of different things. So I think ultimately, if anyone read my article, it's a good thing for the community, a good thing for charity. Certainly there's some theories, and we'll talk about that a little more, as to what their real intentions may be. But I know that, in fact, one local charity got a bottle. I have the bottle here. I'm holding it for them. And I know whatever they raise for it is going to be, going to go to a great cause. So I see no harm in that. As far as comparison goes, you could look at, for example, Michter's Celebration Sour Mash, $5,000 a bottle, that's, done a different way. Very expensive bottle, but it's, it's not going to go to charities, and what's going to happen next with that, what's their next release going to be. So little background on that.
One thing that you did put in your article is that there's no release of the mash bill either, because they have no idea where it came from.
Correct. They acquired the barrels.
So I guess we can kind of talk about rumors a little bit about things, through hearsay. But one thing that I heard is that it could possibly actually be Weller 19 in there.
Well, who has tried it? Has anyone tried it?
I have
not.
Somebody has, because they opened one at one of the charity events in Kentucky.
Yeah, there were some tasting notes on Facebook on it. I saw.
Yeah, that was from Ed Blay, who was one of our past guests. He was at an auction, or not an auction, but a place where everybody kind of you paid X amount up front and you got to taste a few different bottles, and that was you got like a half-ounce sample or something like that.
What did he say about it? I saw his Instagram post, but I didn't hear the actual notes.
He said it was kind of like what you would figure, right? It kind of had a little bit of that, kind of not overly oaked thing, or overly oaked taste to it. He said it kind of had a little bit of that dusty funk as well. So he said it was good. Overall, he said it was up there as one of the better bourbons that he's had. Then I politely asked him, like, "What do you believe it's worth $8,000?" He said, "Well, absolutely not. Nothing's worth that much."
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of want to push it over to a question for you, Blake. So do you think there might be like a hidden motive behind this for Buffalo Trace? Are they trying to compete with Michter's Celebration? Because we all know that's hard to even justify at 5,000 or 3,500 for that, what you would call a Supreme Limited or anything like that.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to say, because it is for charity. So great for Buffalo Trace for doing it for charity. I'm sure everyone on this panel has been messaged or emailed or whatever 45 times over the past month from some charity who got a bottle and wants to value it, or wants you to run their raffle on your website. I thought that was like Buffalo Trace's way of getting back at me for the Pappy Van Winkle release maps. Was now I have to field 100 emails for the OFC charity bottles. But in reality, it is a really good thing that they're raising this money for charity. At the same time, they put a price tag on those bottles. So they said these bottles are probably worth $10,000 before anything hit the market. So now every charity that received a bottle is looking to make $10,000. The market isn't really supporting $10,000 per bottle. And I think, I forget who said it, so comment on this quote if you're in the chat, but I think it's probably setting up for, hey, now we're releasing our OFC vintage that's only going to be $1,000 a bottle and available at retail. I think something like that could be getting set up, and it's just pushing the market even higher for bourbon. The more people are used to these huge price tags, whether it's charity or not, the more they're going to pay for these other bourbons, especially with kind of what Buffalo Trace or Sazerac has been doing with the E.H. Taylor line. They're slowly increasing the price, and they're not going to put more barrels to Pappy because they don't want to increase that price. They're going to release new labels and increase the price of those. So I kind of have mixed emotions about it. I mean, while I think it's great, because I think there's a lot of really good charities that have been helped out by this bourbon, I think it pushes that ultra premium market even higher. And it's ultimately bad for the consumer of bourbon. So it's kind of a catch-22, or a Trojan horse per se, that the distillery seems to be using. So we'll see. I mean, who knows? Maybe Sazerac is purely altruistic and just wants to raise money for charities, and they have no intentions of using this to help them out in the future. But I don't know. I just would be surprised if we don't see a $500 bottle from Sazerac or Buffalo Trace in the near future.
I think you're absolutely right. I think this is probably a clever coup designed by Buffalo Trace. You know, they probably had these barrels they were sitting around, and I don't know, there's not really a whole lot of information behind it, whether it was tanked, how long it was tanked, anything like that, or when it was dumped or anything. So a 20-year-old bourbon, I'm sure it's going to taste great. I'm sure it is. To try to give it out to charities to try to raise $8,000 to $10,000, I think that was a pretty hard sell. I think it's trying to take a little bit of advantage of the market because, as you kind of said, you're creating false valuations that are out there. Because one thing that's gonna happen, and it is gonna happen, is that once all these things, somebody wins a bottle through a raffle, that is going to end up on the secondary market, and we will figure out and find out what the real price somebody's going to pay, because they might have only paid $100 to win the bottle, and maybe it'll be $2,000, maybe.
I think one already sold on the secondary.
Yeah,
recall
there was one
really early on, but
I haven't seen any on Mega Balls yet.
No, one did sell on Bourbon secondary market. Remember that guy bought it? He says he bought it, and then he made like 10 grand himself on the bottle. So
he was honest too. He said what he was doing. He said it wasn't for charity.
Even the ones that I've seen charity bottles go for $3 to $5 grand, I think, just from what I've heard. Now I've seen one closer to $8.
We had one. I got one for our school, and we actually sold it because we had to. They give you a March 1st deadline. So we have 2 auctions a year. One was in December, one was in March. So we kind of had to rush a little bit with the auction. I mean, the other one was in April, so it was past the deadline. So we kind of had to rush. So we made close to 5. Probably could have gotten more if we had done tickets for it, done raffle. But you have to apply for a different kind of license if you're a nonprofit and you want to do a raffle. And it was just kind of a mess. So, I mean, it still was awesome. It was about $5 grand that was just, we really didn't have to do anything for. And it goes to a great cause with our school, and it was awesome. Wish it hadn't gotten so high, because I could have had a chance to. But yeah, I mean, I think it's awesome of Buffalo Trace to do this. I really think they had such a limited amount that they said, let's get our name out there beyond the bourbon world by doing all this for charity. So for their sake, the marketing for it is awesome. I'm sure they're going to end up at some point, in some sort of, publication that's not booze related or spirits related. You'll start to maybe even get them on a regular fake news channel. Just because it's a great deed on their part, but I also think it's great marketing too. I mean, for them, they're 200 bottles, probably. I don't know what they would make off of it, but being able to get it out there, get people money, get the name Buffalo Trace spread out. Right now I still think Buffalo Trace is a name that is not an everyday name. You go to restaurants, Maker's Mark, it's an everyday name. Jim Beam, everyday name. Buffalo Trace is not. So maybe this is a push. It's a great marketing move. It's a generous move on their part, and I think rumors aside of whatever may be, I think it's a great thing they did.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that. I think that was the, why I got behind it and wrote the article. And if you read our latest newsletter, kind of wrote up we wrote up at the concept of why it's good for the community as a whole. I know I've talked to people that would normally not talk about bourbon, but this kind of drew them into what is bourbon. They're viewing bourbon as a good thing, not just some random, liquor. And I think there's a separation, if you think about how much somebody's willing to pay for a bottle. This is different. You know, it's going to a charity. You have that charitable side of things. You have, you know, a bottle that's $1,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 is not going to be, someone's not buying that because it tastes really good. You know, they're buying that because there's 200 of them or because they can, right? So it's different than going out to buy, you know, am I going to pay $50 for Booker's or 75 or 100? That scares me more, because that's the price creep in the area where we are, in the area where we afford and where we drink, versus something here. You know, I don't think that this is going to cause the rest of the market to get pulled up. You know, the person buying this bottle for $5,000 or $10,000 is not, you know, that's not going to kind of filter down into the guy who's suddenly going to spend $100 for a bottle where his other cap or his previous cap was 20 or 30. You know, so I don't worry about that at all with this. You can certainly take that approach. You know, will Buffalo Trace come out with the next, you know, round of them at 500? My guess is 599.
Which is fine. Like, that's
Will
fine.
they do that? Absolutely. It'll be limited. That's fine. And you know what? They're really good at that. You know, think about BTAC, right? Think about where Pappy is made now, you know, so they are good at that kind of like that market of that, creating that value somehow, and then having that drive the market without any other marketing. And that's what's going on here. And it's going to benefit charities, and it's going to benefit their brand and trickle down. So I'm fine with that.
But my question is this, like, Buffalo Trace, do you think they really make money? Like, is their bread and their money maker BTAC or Pappy?
Fireball.
Oh no, yeah, it's Fireball. That's where they make their money.
I mean, but not Sazerac. Buffalo Trace is in like their core product. Buffalo Trace, Eagle Rare, E.H. Taylor, Small Batch. I mean, it's the main products that they push out that they're going to make their money from, right? So most of the stuff is just brand recognition, right? So it's about antique collection. They're not going to make a ton of money from it. They know it's limited. It's brand recognition.
Yeah, and since it's named OFC, it's got to be only for charity from now on, right? You know.
He's been waiting.
That's what it meant, right?
So I'll push that question over to you,
on that
Ryan.
one. Yeah.
So Ryan, I'll kind of push this question over to you. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on a bottle that hits the secondary market that was intended to be sold or actually, you know, auctioned off for charities?
Yeah, I think it's kind of grimy. I feel a little uneasy with that, you know, that it was meant for charity and then you're trying to flip it on the, I don't know. I just feel uneasy about it. It seems a little slimy. But, you know, you bought your raffle ticket, I guess. You contributed to the charity, but I don't know. Just enjoy it.
Do with it whatever you want to do. That's my thought.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm a free market guy, you know?
In fact, I got an OFC bottle for sale. If anybody wants, it's going to be about 10 grand. I just got to buy it for about 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, there you go.
Which Buffalo Trace, they've done this before. Is like, what was it? The Millennium Barrel.
Yeah,
they did it with the Millennium Barrel, and didn't they do another one? Was that the only one they've done?
I think that was the only one. That's what they cited on their website.
It's not the 6 grain that's coming out.
No. This was probably. Oh, yes. So what would be the grains 5 and 6 on the 6 grain? Yeah. Rice and quinoa.
Yeah, exactly. Quinoa.
Buckwheat.
Yeah.
Buckwheat. Yeah.
So
no,
John Cole said he said he actually gets annoyed when an OFC hits the secondary, and you know I can kind of see that happening as well. My opinion, I think it's a little annoying only because of what it was originally intended to go for, what it was intended to go to. But I can also see the flip side and say I paid $5,000, it's worth $7,000. I'll go ahead and sell it. But you know, good luck maybe trying to get $7,000 from somebody unless they really have that kind of cash to splurge, because you don't see a whole lot of Michter celebrations at, you know, going above cost plus shipping. So I'd be very hesitant to throw down any kind of money on something that has that high of a price tag.
It'd make one intense mega ball for sure.
To that point too, I mean, right now, if you're putting something up if you're putting OFC up on the secondary, you're competing with charities who are still trying to auction their bottles. So it's one thing if it's a year from now and it's done, you know, but right now they're still trying to raise money. So I definitely see a difference there too. with, don't do it yet. Wait for the charities to raise their money, step aside. And then if you're going to do it, at least wait till that's over.
Cool. So let's go ahead and let's move on to the next topic here. So this is one that I think everybody kind of goes through this, and I think it also takes somebody that is getting into this, I don't know, hobby, I guess you can call it. And it takes education. And this is what I call NDP, MGP, and the bias. So NDP is a non-distilling producer. MGP is this big ass distillery over here in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. And so I'll push it over to you guys. Does anyone hold a grudge against NDPs and refuse to buy? Or are you a believer that flavor can come mostly from aging and finishing rather than the distillate itself?
I mean, have you ever tried Jefferson's that wasn't aged on an ocean?
And a duck blind.
Regular Jefferson's that's not aged on an ocean is terrible. But then when you throw a little salt in it from the ocean waves,
the air,
it's magical. Look, I think you have to look at the NDP as two different spectrums, right? You have the NDP that doesn't give a shit about ever making their own stuff. And you have the NDP that is just trying to make capital so that they can start making their own stuff. Smooth Ambler, High West, Angel's Envy, even, that just opened their own distillery. So if you start out, you got to age the stuff. We all get it, right? Nothing tastes good. Moonshine is shit for a reason. It's all White Dog, moonshine, whatever you want to call it. It's gross. The 90 or whatever % of the flavor comes from the aging in the barrel, and it takes time. So I don't think there's anything wrong with buying somebody else's product and saying on the bottle, this is somebody else's product. We're just selling it. A lot of companies have done that really well for a long time. So I think when you look at the people who actually want to make capital to make their own stuff, I think that's different from a company that will always buy somebody else's stuff and market it as their own. I'm going to drop the mic right there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with, because some of these NDPs are able to bottle, like a 10-barrel run or something that is a completely different flavor profile than what you would normally get, or able to sit on it for a couple more years. Now that becomes a slippery slope of we're going to get a bunch of crap that is just getting bottled, and because demand has gone up. But I don't know. I'm not even convinced like High West and Smooth Ambler and some of these other people are bottling MGP so that while they wait for their own. I think they just found a niche and picking good barrels and bottling it under their own label. Especially when it comes from MGP, I don't mind, because what does MGP have? One label, and they make a lot of really good whiskey. So you kind of have to go to these other NDPs if you want to get really good MGP whiskey. So personally, I don't have a problem with it. If it's good, it's good. Doesn't matter if they made it or not. But there are a lot of bourbon purists who will vehemently disagree with that statement. So
I agree with the others. As long as they're transparent about it, I'm cool with it. I mean, the Smooth Amblers and the Willets and everything who kind of let you know it's sourced, but nice. That's not distracting.
Sorry, go on.
No, as long as people are transparent about it, I'm cool with it. As long as it tastes good, I'm cool with it. It's when you get the Templeton Rise of the world or whatever, just kind of throwing out a story and all this stuff that kind of pisses you off. But for the most part, I'm cool with it.
What's the story about the whiskey that Al Capone drank?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think I think NDPs sometimes get an unfair bad rep, and that can maybe come from other NDPs that don't, they don't treat their own product with care, and they are, not to say outright lie, but they definitely aren't truthful with what they have. They don't necessarily go to lengths to curate good whiskey. I think there's a difference. I think it helps to know what it is, who made it, is it an NDP, even from the NDP, where do they get it from? You don't always know that. They won't always tell you that. That doesn't mean it can't still be good or you can't venture a guess as to where you got it. But general concept with anything, whether they're distilling it or not, it's, what care went into the curation of what's there, and what are they telling you about it? You could ask that question about anything, because even those that distill on their own, Jim Beam white label, I don't like it. They make it, they distill it, they bottle it, whatever, it's made for a certain market, but Joe Beatrice over a barrel, I've talked to him, what he goes through to find barrels, what he goes through to blend and taste, and that, he takes a lot of time doing that. And I think that's why his product has been so good and so increasingly good. I like it. I could, it's got a certain flavor profile. So I understand if that's not your thing, it's not your thing. But at the same time, I know he goes through a lot to kind of curate those. And I know he's going to be distilling now too, but that's going to be a part of what he does. So I think with anything, it's how much have they gone into the curation? Are they trying to put out a good product, or are they just trying to capitalize, make money, and push out garbage? That's the question, really.
So this was a pretty good comment that came in from Thomas Strand. He goes, isn't it just supply chain dynamics at the end of the day? If MGP is great at distilling, but not great at marketing, let these other guys go buy the barrels and do a good job at getting it to the market.
I think they've run out.
High price, though, is the problem.
Well, and then Boost Freaks responded. He said, the industry is all about the story and the bottle. So when you're trying something new, what influences you the most? Probably the look of the product.
For a new buyer, that may be the case if you're uninformed. Calumet Farms, looked at that and and you're like, wait, so what is in this bottle? It looks great, but what is really in it? And again, like these NDPs, a lot of them MGP, they're a great distiller. So even though they're packaged by somebody else and marketed by somebody else, they're still made by great distillers. Bullet sourcing from Four Roses, still made by a great distiller. Right. So they've still been distilled very well. Right. It's again harder to find the good stuff, maybe, but somewhere like MGP, they're still putting out the good stuff to, folks that are going to produce it and bottle it, or what they consider the good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Boost Freaks also said, the distillate can have, vastly different flavors, but that doesn't mean an NDP or MGP can't taste great. And I think that's absolutely true. I've had, I wouldn't say I've got a lot. I'm going to say that I do have a little bit of bias. Like,
Kenny's a snob.
Well, no, I'm not going to say that. I mean, okay, maybe a little bit, but what I'm not going to sit there and it's always the price point. Somebody just brought this up a second ago. Is the price point is what really, really kind of gets to me. So, am I going to go pay $100 for a bottle of MGP that might taste just like one of the other 60 bottles that are on the shelf that come in from MGP that are all priced, $70 to $100 and $200? Or do I just go with that Four Roses single barrel there that I know where it came from? I know it has a label on it. I know the story behind it for $65. Like that's the dilemma that I usually face in my head.
Yeah, but every Four Roses barrel that's out there now is the Q yeast, and like, who wants the Q yeast, really? I'm sorry. Fan, but all the good shit. I just had some OBSK, which you can't find anymore. I mean, it's so damn rare to find OBSK. Tastes like cotton candy. It's delicious. Everybody drank the shit out of it, bought the shit out of it. Now it's Q yeast or get the hell out. Or F. There's plenty of F yeast if you want to taste friggin' grossness or soap. The other recipes are amazing, but you can't find them. So I just feel like, I don't know, the quality of private barrel and source stuff, everything has just, a Smooth Ambler drying up now with their private barrels. I think there's just too many people that are in this hobby and they need to get the hell out.
And I think 22 Catch 22 brought up another great point. He said MGP had tons of talent that came from Seagram's, which is true. I mean, that's kind of their bread and butter. They've been doing that for a long, long time. So they did have the talent that was over there for a while. John Erdahl had a pretty funny comment. He says NDPs are a good palate cleanser for a nice twist on a bourbon tasting.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, it's kind of dumb whenever you go, not to pick on like Willet, but people are paying $400 for a 12-year-old Willet when I haven't had many 12-year-old Willets that are better than Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. And that's just the reality of it. It comes in a cooler package
It's
and
the same
everything
thing, probably.
else. Yeah, but it's basically the same thing that's been aging across the street, but yet it's going for $350 when Elijah Craig Barrel Proof is going for, even on the secondary, what's it at? Maybe $120 right now. And you can find it a lot of times for 60, $70.
Yeah, but those warehouses sit on top of the hill, not the bottom.
Yeah. So I know that 30 feet of elevation difference in Kentucky makes a huge difference. But,
that's extreme here. That's alpine.
Yeah.
Will it? That's a whole nother conversation. They have a huge following of fans.
Mm-hmm.
They have a huge fan base. They still have source barrels that they'll sell while their product is pushing 4 to 5 years old now. But they put out a barrel and people run to their cars to drive an hour to get down there to buy a bottle.
An hour.
One of them's on here right now.
And what kind of production do they really see for those? I mean, what do those numbers really look like, right? I mean, that's still fairly limited.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's only a
that
couple hundred
definitely
bottles.
plays into it, right? I mean, that plays into it big time. That comes to a large scale.
On that bottle is worth $50 alone. I mean, the purple and the little stuff all like right there. That label is.
It's pretty.
And that's, you can't blame them because they see what people are paying for it on the secondary. So it's like, if somebody's going to pay $500 for a bottle that we just sold them for $75 at the distillery, what are we doing? But, so my question isn't to Willett, it's to the community as a whole. Yeah. Like,
the fuck is wrong with you?
Do you understand what you're buying is the big thing. Like, yeah, they had all these crazy, Stitzel-Weller or Old Medley or whoever Bernheim or whoever they're buying these.
12-year-old Bernheim. Congratulations.
But it's not even that anymore. It's just like 12-year-old Heaven Hill at this point. I mean, what are we counting back 12 years from 2017? Yeah, it's basically 12-year-old Heaven Hill. So it's Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. That's where I start to, it's like, okay, people aren't even getting it anymore. And it's the same thing with Pappy because, everyone was like, oh man, Pappy and the Stitzel-Weller. And no, it's just Weller 12 at this point.
But you know what they can do now? And then I'll let you guys talk because it drives me crazy. Now they'll only release, say, 68 bottles of the whole barrel, even though there might be 150. And the message goes out, there's 78 bottles of 12-year barrel at Willett. And everybody gets in their damn cars or their go-karts or whatever, and they fucking tear off to go buy
Vespa scooters.
78 bottles, and you never hear about it again.
Well, I think the one thing that Willett has done very well is they captured a part of the market that nobody else is doing of just creating snowflakes. Mm-hmm. They put out one barrel. This is the one barrel that is only going to be available at this one time. And as Kerry always likes to say, they're creating FOMO every single time a new barrel is released, right? And so everybody just kind of, drops what they're doing, runs out there, gets 2 bottles, comes home. Yeah, no, I'm guilty. Guilty as charged. I do it plenty. But, the one thing about it is that I do think that I have to go agree with Kerry again. That fucking marketing and their packaging is just unreal. The family crest, the tube, the handwritten pieces to it. I think
it's a beautiful bottle. I mean, it is
a beautiful bottle. You have to have one.
It makes your bar. I mean, it just stands out in your bar. I mean, it's.
So that's why I think that everybody kind of has a fascination with it. I also think the fascination comes with the rich history of what you would call epic Willets, 2494 rye and barrel 50 and all the wax tops that everybody loved pre-2014 for some odd reason, because you put wax on it, it immediately tastes better. But I think that's one of the things that everybody just has this fascination from, what it was a few years ago. And, they just don't want to miss out. They want to just keep buying it. And I don't see it slowing down anytime soon.
But that says something to bourbon too. I mean, I think it was an article somebody wrote about Elijah Craig 12-year when it lost the age statement, and you could say the same thing about, what people think about when they drink Willett or when they drink anything else that they have some or feel some connection to, whether it's real or implied or inferred or whatever. It's that, when you drink a bourbon, part of what you think about is, you know, when did this go into oak? You know, 12 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever. It's more than just what it tastes like. It's everything that kind of comes with it. So when you know that, when you feel a connection to it, when you feel that exclusivity or that limited type of, you know, that limited nature, that limited connection,
you got the barrel number on there and everything.
That helps. That helps that feeling, you know, there's definitely a feeling there. You know, I think that's why the, you know, the rapid aging, you know, aged overnight, aged in a month stuff is never really going to work, even if it tastes just as good, because a lot of what we're buying and drinking is because of all that other stuff that comes with it. You know, and that's hard to put a price tag on. $50 a label, maybe it's $300 a label if you do it right, which Willet obviously is. I mean, they're taking advantage of what they can, and they're doing it in a unique way. You know, kudos to them for doing it, because people are eating it up, right? So I think that plays into it big time.
Well said.
I think that's NDP's challenge, because they maybe don't have that, right? And so they want to create that, but when you're coming in new, when you're coming in fresh, you haven't distilled, you don't have a story, you're looked at under a finer microscope.
Absolutely. And I think one thing on the Willet piece is that, you know, what they're doing is, you know, like I said, they're creating these snowflakes, but at the same time, I'm wondering what's going to happen here in a few years when the source stuff is just all gone and they have to rely on their own distillate. You know, there's a lot of people that have had the 4-year single barrels that came out. They're like, yeah, it's great, you know, but I'd rather have the 12-year, the 13 or the 14 or whatever. So it'll be interesting to kind of see when they have to rely on their own distillate for, you know, in 7 years, when they can actually bottle it at, you know, 9, 10, 11 years of age.
I wonder if people will be done with bourbon by then. And we'll be
back to vodka.
We'll be back to vodka.
OFCs will be gone for $40 on the secondary.
Here's a good question I'll throw out to you guys, because there's a lot of things that are coming up in the chat, and they're talking about the Willet pot still. Most people are going to say it's crap. Everybody's going to say they hate it. But for some reason, we always see people posting pictures. They're like, I finally got one. I finally got a Willet. And they post a pot still picture.
They didn't even make it. They don't even claim to make it. Like, the pot still looks awesome at Willet, and they'll be like, here's the pot still from the bottle that we don't even make that stuff.
But it makes a sweet fucking lamp when you're done with it.
Or you burn a hole and put a little pipe in there. It's a great little bong, my buddy told me.
Yeah, it looks like a hookah.
But yeah, like,
repurposed.
I mean, how many people could say, oh, Willet pot still? That's not actually made by Willet. But they don't care. I mean, to me, it tastes like corn pudding. It's gross, but
burnt popcorn.
I love it. And
you get that burnt popcorn taste?
You got to realize, I wonder what percentage of the total bourbon market the bourbon enthusiasts are. Like, are we like 2% of the total bourbon market? Because
not even 2%.
Yeah.
Every time I'm in Total Wine, people will pick up handles of Jim Beam, and nothing wrong against these brands again, or Maker's Mark, or be like, hey, can you recommend a bourbon? And they're like, yeah, let me show you this. Total Wine has its own private label. Mm-hmm. And they have a Solera aging system where we like pour bourbon down from barrels and it goes in circles and spins. And like, fuck yeah, let's buy this Longhorn bourbon or whatever it is.
What's Total's one that it comes in like the Weller 12 looking bottle? It's
oh, I know what you're talking about.
Watkins.
Creek?
Jeffers.
No, Watkins, or maybe isn't there a Watkins that Total Wine has, and it's always has like 94 points amongst Total Wine tasters.
The manager wants to try this one.
Yeah,
it's his favorite, and everybody wants to buy Billy Bob's favorite, so they are pulling that Buck Eagle off the shelf and buying that.
But you know, I'm guilty of it when I walk into aisles I don't know. I'm like, I don't know Cabernets. Well, Jim thinks this Cabernet is delicious. Okay, I'll take it.
It's a Cabernet, right?
I'm totally guilty with that at Total Wine. I totally look for the wine people's suggestions. I'm like, oh, he says it's good. It's got to be.
This wine is made by TerraPure. You need to buy this wine right here. We actually, we put in like barrels at the top that drop wine down, and it's amazing. So you need to buy it. We're like, okay. awesome.
This isn't on the agenda for tonight, but when you're in a liquor store and you see someone contemplating their bourbon purchase, do you ever jump in and say, you
I want to, but I
don't go with that one? Like,
I can't do it. I feel like too much of a dork by doing it.
Yeah. I actually had somebody, I was looking for something at a store one time and they jumped in on me and like, hey man, you really need to try Angel's Envy. I was like, oh man, he's being nice. I was like, I appreciate it. Thanks. I'll have to check it out. And, but I always kind of want, whenever I see somebody standing there, I'm like, so what are you interested in? What do you like? Then tell me. But I never quite make it to that point.
I've done it before and regretted it.
5% of us know what the hell we're talking about. 90% of us have no idea. We just grab off the shelf, and the other 5% think we
That's
know
me.
what we're talking about.
Yeah. Actually, the reason I was late tonight was we went to a making chocolate truffle and tasting, and one of the tastings was a whiskey. Well, first they said, yeah, we got a bourbon we're going to pair with chocolate truffles. They said it's this bourbon from Whistling Pig. And I look at my brother, I'm like, it's Whistle Pig, and Whistle Pig only make dry whiskey. And he's like, okay, don't be that guy out here. So sure enough, the guy comes
Don't be
around,
a dick.
and they're like, okay, this is an 80 proof. I said, Whistle Pig doesn't make 80 proof. They do 10-year, 100 proof. And I'm like,
Nerd alert.
okay, I don't want to jump in because, it makes you look like a nerd.
I don't want to be a bourbon nerd, but you guys are all wrong. They don't even make – Whistle Pig doesn't even make their own shit. It's Alberta rye.
It's all Jim Beam rye, isn't it?
It's a Canadian. No, they're all Canada.
That's good.
All right, so we're gonna wrap this up with one last question because we're reaching an hour here. So this is actually from Bruce Schwalm, and he had a question for the panel. It actually just came up. And he said, "If we are the geeks and we're the 1% of drinkers out there, why are we more focused on the art, or why aren't we more focused on the art and then less on the marketing?"
What art?
Because the marketing's fun.
We talked about. We drink bourbon because of the taste. I'm going first. We drink bourbon because of the
Thought
taste.
you like cleanup.
End of the day, I do like cleanup. I do like to be the designated hitter. What do they call the fourth guy?
The designated hitter is now the cleanup?
We drink it because of its taste. We don't care about marketing. We don't care about marketing. We don't care about marketing. At the end of the day, we want something that tastes awesome, that we can pour for a friend who drinks it and says, damn, this is awesome. And that is what creates the memories that keep us in this hobby, right? So we don't care about the bullshit.
I'll disagree. I probably care about the bullshit because when I'm pouring something, I want to tell a story and we all connect around it, whatever. So I guess I'm a whatever sucker, but I like the marketing.
That's why you have all those orphan barrels.
That's right. Yeah, you were the first person to give me
Ryan's got a set of orphan barrels at the house.
Don't let Kenny fool you. He was the first one to give me an orphan barrel.
10 bottles of Gifted Horse.
Yeah. Let's all be honest. Like we kind of got into a little bit of this, not because of the art, but because you see the bottle, you see the thing behind it. And I think, not that you get into it, but you get into it because of the taste, but then you get into other ones because of some of the marketing that is really behind a lot of these, right? I mean, I'll go ahead if we're doing true confessions of a bourbon drinker. Yeah, I bought an orphan barrel. I bought Barter House 20-year, like when it first came out, because I thought it was gonna be the fucking tits. And then I realized like this is all marketing. Like this is I just paid $100 for like an 85 proof or 89 proof bottle, and I just that's kind of like ended my love relationship with orphan barrel at that point, right? And then at that point you get a little bit more savvy, give me a little bit of a savvy consumer, and you start really learning everything that's behind those fancy labels. As Kerry shows his bottle of foraged oak that he loves so dearly.
Yeah, it's maybe it's the marketing that drew people in. So maybe somebody was drawn in because of the marketing of a bottle or the marketing of a company. I think it's more of why do people stay? What keeps you here? Is that the taste? Is that drinking from a bottle directly? Maybe like
it's tax season.
I think at the end of the day, I do think it's the people you connect with ultimately that that keeps it going, more so than even just the taste or just the actual story. If you can dig out the actual story behind anything, you got to sometimes dig harder than other times. But, I think ultimately it's a community. If you didn't have this, if you didn't have people talking about it, friends talking about it, it really wouldn't be that fun. So I think you might lose interest if you didn't have that.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's where I think the marketing is kind of the art of this whole thing. Is we're talking about manufacturing plants when it all comes down to it. The guys being Buffalo Trace, any Brown Foreman, Old Forester, Woodford, whatever you want to call it, Four Roses, they're manufacturing plants. It's not changing all that much when we're looking at these big brands. So how they market it is a part of the art to me. So that's the fun part that gets everyone excited. And as much as we hate it and like to bash on the ones who we don't think do a good job at it, we kind of praise the ones who we do think have kind of won at this. Will it, like, man, they've figured this thing out because it's brilliant. And some of these other ones like Orphan Barrel, some of them I love, some of them I hate, but we still talk about them. So I think that all just kind of comes into that 1% of we need something to talk about, and different marketing gives us great stuff to feast on as someone overly dedicated to bourbon. So
Orphan Barrel.
This podcast would have been over at episode 5 if all we did was talk about the engineering behind it.
Yeah, exactly.
Orphan barrels represent the bourbon industry in general, right? So they bought a whole bunch of old shitty barrels and they
just had them. No, Carrie, I don't know if you read the marketing, but they didn't know they were there and they found them.
We bought the shit out of them, right? We bought up a whole bunch of 20-year-old flavoring.
Hold on.
This Excel spreadsheet
foraging through the racks of barrels in historic Stitzelweller Rick House, the Kentucky Straight Bourbon has.
Right, but see my parallel here. So we bought the crap out of it. They made a whole bunch of them. They've kind of slowed down into disgusting realms now, and like there's nothing left. So they bought up all that was available. We bought up all that they made, and now the whole industry is just kind of grinding to a halt, and everyone needs to jump off the little bandwagon and get ready for 10 years from now when you go back in a store and Pappy is sitting on the shelf.
No.
Won't happen. I will put my money on the over with that one.
In 10 years from now, I'm going to bet you that you will not find Pappy anywhere.
Okay, 10 years from now.
There'll be so much bourbon, it'll be amazing.
The Jaguars have 3 Super Bowl championships. The
Browns will win more than 10
I'm a Falcons fan. Don't talk about the Super Bowl.
Pappy is sitting on the shelves everywhere.
Kentucky football will win SEC.
Henry McKenna 10-year has become the America's #1 bourbon.
It should. Don't say Henry McKenna 10-year. Nobody should know about that. It's terrible. Don't buy it.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and let's kind of wrap this up. So I want to give a few different shout outs to some of the people that had commented. Chris Walker said, my first 5 to 10 bourbon purchases were overpriced and marketing driven. Luckily, I finally learned what I was doing. The Speakeasy said, marketing might get us to buy the first bottle, cough, cough, pot still, but that only works once. And Bill Wood says, I will drink whatever Mila Kunis tells me to.
Absolutely.
Now, can I just say, Bill Woods actually sold me my first stag, and or traded me actually my first stag, and I will never forget him for that. So thank you, Bill Woods.
Well, there we go. Now you got to get your advertisement in at the very end.
I don't know his real name.
Thank you, Bill.
All right. So one last thing I got to do is I gotta revive a little bit of the Jeffersons, what you put down. I actually kind of enjoy their very very small batch, whatever it is, very old small batch. But it was actually pretty funny. Chris Walker, when you guys were talking about the ocean, he says, don't forget about what the seagull shit does to the barrels.
Yeah.
You like Jeffersons? There's something wrong with you.
Hey, different
Different
palates,
strokes for
man.
different folks.
That's why we're in this hobby, because
That's right.
one like is a dislike for somebody else, and that's all.
Yep. So let's go ahead and just kind of go around the horn real quick. Give one more shout out about where you blog, where you can find yourself on Twitter, Facebook, secondary markets, all that fun stuff.
We're going to change it up. Everybody's going to introduce someone else. So I'm going to go as Carrie from suburbia.com. And no.
Keep it up. I like it.
You can donate to my kid's school with the OFC charity tasting. You can Blake from bourboner.com.
What?
The Bourboner, Twitter bourboner.com, and Instagram is just Bourboner, and you can join the Facebook group by searching for Bourboner.
Nick, breakingbourbon.com. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Breaking Bourbon. Be sure to sign up for our newsletter and follow for weekly posts.
All right, Carrie, it's your turn. Wrap this up for us.
Not my turn. It's Cecil's turn. Or
you really want to go last? All right.
Yeah. You can find me at Bourbon Pursuit with Kenny, doing everything social media related. But go ahead, back cleanup.
Hi. I like long walks. I have thinning hair, but there's still a whole mound up here for you to enjoy.
Oh, jeez.
You can find me on suburbia.com, but really, I am always on bourboner.com. One of my favorite sites. And once a quarter, you're going to find a great blog article from me, because I just can't write, but I love to talk. So this is why this is my home for the future. But yeah, at Bourbon_gamer on Twitter. I mean, you all already follow me now, but first of all, but last of all, Kenny and Ryan, you guys put in a lot more work than we do. We just drink bourbon and we get on here and just bullshit for an hour and a half. You guys actually do the editing and the work and everything. So again, you guys are doing an amazing job of keeping this thing up. So thank you very much.
I appreciate it. That's why
Thank you.
figure we owe you some swag for bringing in all these people. So
I'll give you a free T-shirt or a sticker. You get a sticker.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Hold that thought.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of close this out real quick, but got to say thank you to everybody that was joining the live stream here. At the very peak, we had 87 people watching. So got to say thank you to everybody. We got 70 viewers on right now. And with that, we're going to kind of wrap this up. We've got a pretty good month planned ahead for March. I think we're going to do a newbies month. So you're going to find just everybody that's kind of, we do a bad job of talking about the secondary market. We might drive a lot of that, but we're kind of going to get back to our roots in March and really just talk about the, as Bruce kind of wanted to get at a little bit earlier, is we're going to focus on the art and less on the marketing of it. So with that, make use of, if you like what you hear, support the show on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Bourbon Pursuit. We've got t-shirts, koozies, stickers, all kinds of cool stuff that we're going to send your way for helping sponsor the show. Make sure you follow us on all those social media channels at Bourbon Pursuit on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you have any other show suggestions or people that are not craft distilleries, we're switching our format for this year. We're not doing craft distilleries. We realize
we get way too many.
Yeah, way too many requests and not enough listenership. So we're gonna focus on people like this. People like it when you sit around and bitch about bourbon. So we might just keep doing a little more of this. So thank you everybody that joined in, and we'll see you next week. All right, there you go.
Man, I had my Bourbon Pursuit T-shirt laid out, and then I was running late to get home, and I had no idea where my wife put it.
I put my Bourbon Pursuit T-shirt on. It was really tight right here.
Hey, you're the one who told me your size, man.
Yeah, I don't know if my wife
large, but that shirt was like
what?
It was like titties right here, like
baby gap.
If you want to ship it back to me, that's fine. I'll act like I'm Nordstrom and send you a new one. That's fine.
Yeah.
No, look, all I need is a visor. This is me right here. With
Visors. Actually, that's one thing that we are going to do. I'm working on getting embroidered stuff for Ryan and I when we go out to events and stuff, so we look legit. So
cool.
Dude, y'all need to come down to the Orlando Whiskey Festival. Get a Bourbon Pursuit booth, set it all up.
you know, we
I think we're thinking something bigger, like Tales of the Cocktail or Jack Roses or something.
No, you start small, then go big.
Southwest does have a cheap direct flight to Orlando. So
They do.
And we had the guy that did the Orlando Whiskey Fest on as a guest. I don't God, 40 episodes ago, and I think he said,
really?
he said,
Mark?
yeah, he was like, yeah, we'll give you free tickets if you want to come.
Yeah.
And,
I think we need to start pulling out some big guests though. Like, it's awesome, all of us together. We have a great time, but I think we need to throw down some big dogs. Like, let's get Mark Brown on our next one.
Well, no, I was thinking about just having other people on, but not like an interview format. Just, hey, you're one of the people here, and just let them jump in and everything else.
I don't want to share spotlight with anybody else, but I want like Mark Brown in.
No, but hey, Mark Brown better fight for his screen time if he wants to talk.
Let's get Drew from Willett in here. Let's get some big dogs up in
He ain't gonna do it. He's not.
Drew's not gonna do it.
he ain't gonna do it. I can tell you that for sure.
And Mark's probably not gonna do it either. But just
No, he is. He's gonna do it. I'm gonna talk to him and Amy Presky, and we'll get Mark on. It'll be awesome.
What do you seriously though? You guys, the guys who write, the guys who, you know, who are in distilleries. I mean, what do you think? You think they look at bloggers as, you know, they like writers and bloggers? You know, they like what we're doing. They hate what we're doing. Would they consider this stooping to a lower level?
Now they think it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it's another responsibility in their role now that they didn't have to do 5 years ago. And now all of a sudden, that's what Ryan and I, we were just, so we had Bernie Lubbers on, we were there last week. And I mean, we've got a fucking kick-ass podcast coming out in March where we talked literally an hour and a half on nothing but bottled and bond. So that's kind of going to kick off the newbies thing. But he was just like, man, it's like the second podcast I've done this week. You guys keep beating down my door. So it's just an additional role that just they didn't have to do a few years ago.
Dude, everybody's picking up the blogging thing, and John Little's like, he's honest, you know, he's cool. He's like, I hate you bloggers. You know,
everybody's got an opinion. They want to share it.
Yeah, and I mean it's true, but like I think the good part about us is we represent like the average guy talking about bourbon, which is why so many people can relate to our.
I don't think we're trying to make money off this, so we can speak the truth.
We're not making any money. I mean, if I could make some money off of this and stop dealing with ransomware, I'd be all over that shit.
I would sell out in a heartbeat.
I would tattoo a distillery across my chest to get me out of dealing with ransomware.
But I mean, honestly, I think that's what a lot of brands are missing is the fact that these kind of non-paid outlets do you know influence the consumer a lot more than they wish it would.
Yes.
So.
But again, I still think I want to know
we're the tea party.
We are. What percent are the people who are on the secondary markets and talking to each other and blogging? Like, what percent of total bourbon buyers are we?
Total bourbon buyers. I mean,
yes.
The true geeks. It's got to be a small percent.
Yeah, but then you're including the guy who buys a half gallon of Jim Beam White Label. So,
right.
That's small, but that still drives the whole other market. You know, there's the whole early adopters, late adopters, and the
I have tons of friends.
Market.
I have tons of friends that probably haven't even that drink bourbon and don't even listen to any of our episodes. You know, but you know.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would think that we have some influence of maybe like, you know, 5,000 or more people that are in some of these groups and everything that they'll read an article every once in a while. But, you know, those are even what you would categorize as a whiskey nerd, but the everyday buyer. I mean, like we were I was at the Total Wine Lottery that they just actually had one last Saturday. And actually you had to get there at 6:30 a.m. It was limited to the first 500 people. So, and here in Kentucky, you guys have your Total Wines that you have to spend $2 or $3 grand or whatever to become a reserve member. You can't actually have club and memberships for liquor stores here in Kentucky. So they did Total Wine's first ever lottery. And so you had to get there first, limited to the first 500 people. There were more than 500 people that showed up before 6:30. And I can tell you maybe 3 to maybe even 2% of those people are actually like listen or read, you know, the stuff that we all do. So
because it's an investment opportunity. You know, people want to make money by doing nothing. So I mean,
and you're gonna have that, but think about. I mean, I'm sure you guys get the same thing of everybody you have who goes to the liquor store and is like, "Hey, I'm here at so and so. What should I buy?" And you know, that's a big majority of the market too. You know, so you're probably adding in closer to 20% of the market when you think about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They look to the sites and everything else to what they should buy.
Figure out what to get.
Yeah.
I mean,
I gotta get some fucking sleep because I got another day of fun.
Ransomware.
Whoa, just because, there's a breakout of what is it? A virus or
Ransomware?
Malware.
go ahead and explain it to them, Kerry.
You don't know ransomware until you've been hit by ransomware. Like you can hear about it on the news, but they encrypt everything on your network and they demand money to give
Like
you
Zika.
It's insane. It has been the craziest week of work ever. But
so it's like they're the Somali pirates of computer
yes, and I've been
sabotage.
negotiating with terrorists. Americans don't do this, right? But like I've been negotiating, like, hey, what about $200 for like one of our servers? And in broken English, they say no, not going to happen. Is the law for everyone? I'm like, what law are you talking about? Anyway, I digress.
Hold on, so that's like a real thing. Like they say, we'll give you your server back.
Your data for ransom, and you pay them in Bitcoin, and they release your data.
It's actually really cool, like how it's done. Like
People use Bitcoin.
Yes, Bitcoin is the only currency for hackers.
Because it's untraceable.
Of course. Yeah.
You know what? This wouldn't happen. Donald Trump would not allow Bitcoin.
Donald Trump's fault. Fellas, have a great night. Love you all.
Good
all
night.
right, later, Kerry.
See you.
Yep. All right.
man.
Well, if anybody else has anything to talk about, I'm pretty much done. Nobody's asking questions, so
I think I'm ahead myself.
Yeah.
Great show. Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
Nick. Appreciate it.
all right, fellas.
See y'all. Enjoyed it.
Good night.
See you Saturday, Kenny.
All right, sounds good.
See you Saturday, Kenny.
Yeah, come on by, man. I'm having a Four Roses tasting at my house. So,
Oh snap!
well, it might be
We need to
Four
make it-
Roses. I'm sure we'll have like we'll have
he's
like
back
5
at
drinks.
it.
We'll be like,
Now-
okay, let's
So,
do something else.
Just quick question.
Yeah.
So I got that Four Roses Japanese export. What is that? Is that anything?
It's the platinum. It's just a super sweet version. From what I understand, is that the
Is
Japanese
it the
just
black label or the?
no, it's just
or-
the platinum.
It's like
only
a
two.
yeah, it's a silver label.
Yeah, it's the Four Roses platinum. Yeah,
Hold
it's just
on,
I think it's just for the Japanese market, but it's supposed to be super sweet. Comparison to like the Yellow Label or something. So Four Roses
that's right.
premium. Sorry, my Colorado's right. It's Four Roses premium, I think, not platinum.
Yeah, I have I remember doing research on that one. Hold on, because I think it's not OBSK, but where did I do that? Hold on. I'm gonna find it in 2 seconds.
Kenny, how many are you expecting?
Maybe 10. I don't know. Maybe a little bit less than that, something like that. So might be
Oh,
7
no.
or 10.
Never mind. They didn't release the so it's a small batch of some sort. They didn't release the exact mash bills they use.
Great, it's probably just Yellow Label. But I got
It's okay. It's a $200 Yellow Label. You bought.
bottle. All right. Well,
Yeah,
good night.
y'all have fun.
All right. Later, everybody. And thanks, everybody that was watching. Appreciate it. 37 viewers remaining, but ending the broadcast. So, toodles.
Toodles.